What's going on, guys, and welcome back to episode 8 of Friday Night Figs, or Effin' Figs. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over Brickmania's French Special Forces minifigure. They came with the bundle ATV kits or the standalone kits that came out a little bit later. Now, the French Special Forces minifigure came with the ATV mini kit. There was a bundle of 3 of them, so it was the French one, as the one you were seeing here, the German Special Forces, and then a Russian Special Forces minifigure. In my next video, I'm going to be going over the ATV kit together, so the minifigure plus the ATV that the minifigure came with. Now, to start off with the minifigure, he's all in gray, so which is pretty cool to see. I like the combination between the coyote tan and the gray because it kind of gives it that modern urban camouflage. He has the Brickmania fast helmet in gray, so this was their first one they did in gray. They didn't initially release it in gray, a standalone, but they started to at a later time. So this was one of the varieties they gave out with this minifigure, which is great to see. The torso has around his, like where his neck would be, pretty much is his schmog, or like a cloth that has camouflage on it for if he puts it over in his face like he has on the minifigure head, just that way he can be able to not have dust just keep constantly going in his face from driving the ATV. He has fast mag pouches, which is pretty cool to see, which most special forces are going to have a fast magazine with the P mags inside. So that's what mostly the special forces and more modern military going to are plastic mag versus metal, because they're lighter, as well as the fact that they make a little bit less sound, but that's not the main factor. He has a push to talk on the left shoulder strap, which is pretty cool to see because that's usually where he'll go to when he's talking, especially if he has his weapon in his right hand, but he can still use either or. And he has more of a JPC plate carrier, so the lighter one and more agile. Moving down to his legs, he has knee pads that are sewn into his pants, which is another pretty cool. I think they're a Crytek or the brand that they call them. I'm not exactly sure what the brand is. He also has the strap for his pistol on the right side of his leg, and he has a bungee cable for any other like chem lights on the right side of his leg. Now moving to the left of the minifigure, starting off with his fast helmet, he has the French flag on the left side of his helmet, plus tan rails on the fast helmet, which is pretty cool to see because it gives it a different style printing and just makes this minifigure very unique. He has pelletors that are in like a dark gray color, which most special forces are going to be using pelletors with their fast helmets or even just communication in general. Now on his arm, he has a Velcro patch for whatever patch he wants to put on there for identification, whether this is unit or whatever the case may necessarily be. Just above his hand, there's another Velcro strap so that way he can tighten his uniform down around his hands so that way they're not flapping around and he can be able to have less debris go inside his uniform. Lifting up his arm, he has 2 gray pistol magazine pouches for probably his Glock 19 or the French version of the pistols that they use. I'm not sure what pistols they use necessarily. And again, on the leg, you can be able to see that he has the, I think it's a bungee cable or some sort. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but right underneath the bungee cable, there's the cargo pocket. So that way he can put whatever he needs in that pocket if he needs to. He also has, to go along with his gray uniform, gray combat boot. I'm not sure what combat boots they use, but it's again, the gray just gives it an awesome texture. Now moving to the back of the minifigure, you can be able to see that the back elbows have a padding, which in the combat uniforms they use, they would have that, which is pretty cool to see for that detail. He obviously has the JPC plate carrier, so it's a lighter and thinner plate carrier, but he also has communication radio or just comms in general on the back. Then you can see on the above where his head would be, you can see the schmog or the back of the schmog, which is pretty cool detail wise to see that fabric, because in real life that fabric is like very thin on the end and it just gives that cool detail. I would assume this is his IFAK or his first aid kit, but for his plate carrier, obviously he doesn't have a belt, so that way he puts on the back of his plate carrier. On the legs, you can see where there's a Velcro area to tighten around his legs, so that way his uniform's not flapping around when he's driving around. And with the head, which I will go into later, he has a full 360 head, so you can be able to see that his head has the fast helmet straps. Moving to the right of the minifigure, he has the Brickmania patch on his fast helmet on the right side of it. And then moving down to his arm, you can see he has another French patch to identify that he is French and to just identify him better. Lifting his arm up, you can be able to see he has 2 grenade pouches for the grenades they use, whether it be flashbangs or possibly very similar to what the Americans use, the M67 frag grenade. Moving down to his leg, you can see he has a Glock style weapon, probably a Glock 19 because that's a smaller one, but I would not be surprised if he had a Glock 17 as well. And still going with the gray, he has gray combat boots as well. So the detail is full 360, which is a pretty cool detail to try to get to represent this minifigure. All in all, the minifigure is a really good and detailed minifigure. With removing his helmet, you can be able to see the detail of the 360 head that he has, which is really cool to see with this minifigure, that he has a full 360, and I'm glad that Brickmania has started to do a full 360 on their minifigure. You can see that he has communications from his pillowtors as well as sunglasses, so that way he has dust and debris staying out of his eyes, and the schmog around his mouth, so that way he can keep the dust out of his mouth. He also has what looks like he possibly has a baklava on his head, so that way he can keep his identity pretty much intact, which is pretty cool to see. And that's Brickmania's French Special Forces minifigure that comes with the ATV mini kit. I know the kit's been out for roughly, I think, about a year or so, and they only did, I think, one full batch, which was, I think, 50 to 75 kits. And you can only get one online. If you were able to get it in store, then you were able to get it in store as well. But I know that they only did one run of that, I think, because the parts. But I'm going to be going over the actual kit itself this Sunday, so stick tuned for that. But if you do like these minifigure reviews and going over the different minifigures and talking about the different details and what I like or what I dislike on them, let me know in the comments below, and definitely give this video a like. If you're new to the channel and like what you see and want to keep up to date with all the minifigure reviews and kit reviews that I do, or just all the hauls or any videos I come out with, definitely click the subscribe button and keep up to date with all videos that I do come out with. I appreciate all the subscribers and all the likes and comments that I do get, and I try to respond to every single one and be able to interact with you all. I appreciate you all. But as always, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next episode.